white flowers, Arthur, again. A little bit more about... So this jasmine stuff costs a fortune. Orange flower costs a fortune. Osmanthus.
Costs a fortune.
Correct. Lang Lang. Yeah, small fortune.
Surprisingly affordable.
It's not too bad because that's an essential oil rather than
Yeah.
absolute, so they tend to cost less. Not always, rose doesn't, but you tend to get, well, you can get more out of it. Neroli didn't used to cost a fortune, now does. That's the bitter orange flower essential oil, but not as expensive as the orange flower absolute. All the same, if you're starting off with these things, go on tuberose, cost a fortune. Did I mention that?
No.
Yeah, it still does. And I don't have the tuberose absolute here, I've got a recreation, because that's one way of experimenting that doesn't make it quite so expensive. But I thought I'd talk about experimenting, because how do you get to know these things if you're not working for a big company who've got lots hanging around for you to experiment with? And even then, they probably wouldn't let you get too carried away. So, I dilute them, first of all, you know that. And I've got the Lang Lang at 10% in ethanol, the tuberose recreation at 10, the jasmine at 5, narrowly at 5% in ethanol. That is, say, so if you put in 1 part jasmine and then 19 parts ethanol to add it up to 20, so you get 5%. Not certain about the maths, write me a comment. I can always help. It's the drops question again. Do we work in drops? And the answer is no. We don't because they're not sufficiently accurate. They're not reproducible. We never work in volume anyway. We work by weight. But if you're starting out, you don't really know what you're smelling yet, and you don't want to spend all your money or use up all your materials. First of all, getting to know them. You know, I'm saying to people, oh yeah, make yourself a 10 gram sample of something, and then that's all my stuff. 'Cause I think that's not a lot, but then these days I've got quite a lot of kit. So I would say these are bits of spare filter paper from the big filters where we've cut off, which are quite absorbent, very absorbent. And I would say do experiment with those. First, well, we've got, what do we dip? We dipped the jasmine, didn't we? We dipped the Lang Lang. So, no, that's Drive Them Wild and Pillow Talk, so I didn't know where I put them. That's Lang Lang. I think I just gave it to you.
Yeah, you did.
So, rule?
I've got it here, however
It's alright, I can write everything down. Yeah.
Played with it.
Okay. Yeah. It's fine.
I can't help it.
Well,
Can't help just playing with scent strips.
it's fine. It's because you're sitting there with not much to do.
Apart from be fascinated.
Yeah, but, well, of course. And pay attention, yeah. But I think it helps if you fiddle with something to keep your attention on
What
things.
I said to my primary school teacher, Mr. Wardle, and that was how I got him to let me fiddle with blue tack all the way through all of his lessons.
It helps,
It helped
I
me.
believe.
I used to play with blue tack for so long that if I held it, it would drip. It was that, I made it that liquidy.
And also, you know, it's much stickier if you make it very squidgy.
Yeah, horrific. Awful.
I was thinking of just making it useful. When I used to teach corporate people how to write better, so that people would read what they'd written, it was the days when we would have lots of things stuck around the wall. So I would actually spend the first half hour or so just
Playing with blue tack.
playing with the blue tack to make it. And then you could use a tiny amount and it would work. You
Yeah.
don't have to use great big blobs. See, come here for perfume, come away with blue tack hints. So I'm going to do the thing here, which is how perfumers practice learning which is which is very handy. And I did this on Nick this week. We had to test. I'd done one version of a fragrance, and somebody else was going to recreate it in the US, and they'd made 2 different versions of it. And I wasn't really happy. Couldn't work out why, or was I imagining it? Were they different? So I gave 2 of one to Nick and 1 of the other one. I said, right, which is which? And that one's the odd one out straight away. So it's spot the odd one out is a really excellent way to train your nose, and you get better and better at it. So I'm going to ask you not to look at what's written on them, and to pick
the odd one out.
Pick the odd one out, yeah. Arthur is sniffing the strings.
That's jasmine anyway.
Yes, it is.
I can't really smell that.
Well, it's possibly because it's exactly the same as the other one in the other hand. There's 2 lang lang and 1 jasmine.
Oh, well, that'll be why then, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's jasmine.
Exactly, that was the odd one out.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do. You don't have to say at the beginning, oh, that's this, this and this. At the beginning, you start by just going, that's different from those 2.
Yeah.
And we start out by, that's harder than I would do with a beginner. With a beginner, you probably take 1 orange and 2 sandalwood, or something like miles away different to check if people are able to do it.
Interesting.
So we do that, and if you don't have someone to test you, then it's good just to mix them up and turn them over yourself until you've lost track.
Yeah.
I find that very easy to do, lose track myself. But there's no end to the amount you can do that. When Harry used to come in sort of every day when he was first studying perfumery, he would march in and he'd say, "Test me, pick some things, just test me," because he wanted to be completely surprised. Because obviously, if you've done it yourself, you know which ones you've done, so you're looking out for. If you're completely surprised by them, then you don't know what you're expecting.
Yeah.
But there is no limit to the number of times you can do that, and particularly if you've got a new material just in, then test yourself against it. But if you've got a helper, even better. Now we're talking about drops. And we would only use drops for very rough ideas. So, like, rather than this would be my canvas and these are my paints, but before we start using serious amounts, let's just have a little sketch, a little idea of what we might do. So, for example, we made a jasmine isoe super fragrance a couple of weeks ago, just before Christmas. And just by putting the jasmine and the isoe super together. So I'm going to suggest that what we do is, rather than commit to a whole fragrance, take, I'm just going to do 1 drop of Neroli. Actually, I'll put 1 on another piece of paper as well. Literally a drop. Gonna have to write on them. And I'll keep the pipette to the right hand side of the bottle so I always know which one belongs to what. I have got here the isoe super and it's already got a pipette in it, so I'll put 2 drops of isoe super on top, won't get it too wet. Always empty the pipette before you put it back in, and that way it doesn't sneak back up the tube and evaporate. And I have some ethylene brassylate here, which is a mask. Doesn't cost much, but it's absolutely wonderful.
I love ethylene brassylate.
Yeah, it's not the price. Quite often the price comes down with synthetics because a lot is made. So just because a musk is expensive, it doesn't mean it's better.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so I am going to write on these because otherwise I wouldn't remember which is which or what I'd put there.
That, yeah, you know that.
Yeah, I don't really want them to touch that floor. Oh, do I remember which one is which?
I do.
Good, which is which?
That has to be super.
I'm pleased about that because that's what I thought when I smelt it, but I just had a moment's panic. So, narrowly plus ICE. Write everything down.
Every time I hear the name narrowly, I want to say we roll along.
Yeah. We can say neroli if we like. Because it's come out all 1970s writing because it's very absorbent. Paper. So it hasn't, we kind of leave it to dry. So just test to see what Isoe Super does to narrowly and what ethylene brassylate does to narrowly.
Isoe Super makes narrowly a bit punchier. It provides a limelight for narrowly.
Mm-hmm.
And ethylene brassylate is just lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Ethylene brassylate just makes it just smell better.
Yeah. Well, the idea is I should probably just give you one of these things with just narrowly, shouldn't I?
We roll along. Yeah. Narrowly's fine.
Yeah.
I think a lot is all that.
Fine.
It's
It
fine,
is. It's very 4711.
Mm.
It narrowly for me is my grandmother's bathroom in a very small 2-bedroom, 2 up, 2 down, next to the 99 bus stop. Is it 99? In Middlesbrough.
Hmm.
Oh, I forgot actually to do this one. So that's it by itself.
Mm-hmm.
So while this might be not fascinating to watch, I strongly recommend just doing things in 2s, maybe 3s, but when starting to get to know the materials, it's a really bad idea to think, oh, I know, I'll add this and that 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 and then see what happens, because you don't know how you got there. You'll never guess what I'm adding next, you will. You'll probably guess this, given that I've added Isoe Super and ethylene brassylate, probably guess what part 3 is, even. For all the films we've made, you don't have to.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make your brain hurt.
Smell it.
See if you feel what it has done to the narrowly.
Oh, I know this.
So you can read it.
Yeah. No, I'm not reading it.
No.
For those of people who watch, I'm definitely not reading the label. Yeah. It's impossible to read it anyway because it's all.
It's gone all blobby. Yeah, and I love fountain penning on these things. It looks right. So it's Hedione.
Hedione,
It's
yes.
Hedione. And that generally makes it go kind of poof.
Makes it, yeah.
So
Hedione's quite onomatopoeic, I think.
It's supposed to be kind of hedonistic.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Most enjoyable.
Makes it a bit very heady.
So, as the narrowly is at 5% strength, and the others are at 15, and I put 2 drops of the other things on. What proportion are they at? So it's basically I've put in 6 times more Hedione, Musk and Isoe Super than I have narrowly, just by adding two more drops, but they're at 3 times the strength, so 2 times 3, 6. So I've made them in sets of 7, which is really not helpful. But all of those would make the narrowly plus Hedione, narrowly plus Isoe Super, narrowly plus Musk would make, each of them would make a fragrance. But it's fascinating to find out what happens when you do these things. And so I would then do exactly the same with all the other materials that I've got here to see, because the Isoe Super, the musk and the hedione might not do the exact same thing to the different fragrances. In general, Isoe Super does make everything just be kind of more, nicer, better version of itself. It's Isoe Super helping Neroli live its best life. I say that mostly ironically. Musk softens the sharp edges of things that are a bit intense, and then hedione kind of brings it to life and dresses it up a bit and sends it out, gives it a bit more confidence, and off it goes to the party. What we didn't do last time was see what happens when we do those. We used jasmine and musk. No, jasmine and Isoe Super, although it was jasmine, wasn't the sambac, it was the grandiflorum. But we'll see what happens with... Do you want to do the Lang Lang, since you like that?
Yes.
Okay. This time... Right. The important part. Writing it down. On that end. I shouldn't be writing it with the lid off. Somebody suggested that I should have a t-shirt made that says, write everything down and put the lid back on. That should be my thing.
Very niche.
Yes.
But I think actually it applies to things that aren't just perfume.
Yeah. It is life. It's, yes, look after yourself. Look behind you and see what you've left behind. And also take care that you prepare to avoid potential disaster. Do you think that's
yeah,
that sums it up? Right. 1 drop on each. And drops are never quite the same size. So somebody asked me, where do people get these drops thing? Was it you? No, it wasn't you. Somebody said to me, where do people get the idea that you should be doing drops all the time? And I got out a book that I just bought off WOB, World of Books. They've got loads of second-hand books at very reasonable prices, although one of the ones I thought I bought, I haven't. They just sent me a refund. That was disappointing.
Yes, I've had that a few times with other books.
But I bought this How to Make Your Own Perfumes at Home with Essential Oils. Of course, all the recipes are like drops of this, drops of that.
Right.
Like, that's where they get it, because that's the grand tradition of aromatherapy, is to put very carefully, because aromatherapists know how intense, I won't say dangerous, but they know the limits that you're supposed to go with. So they're accustomed to using things at 100% in drops.
Yeah.
So that they're very careful with them in things like almond oil. And so their way of making perfume is say, right, well, let's do that, but turn it into perfume.
I've got a book at home that's all that kind of stuff.
So that's where the droppage thing came from.
Yes.
But fine, it is slightly poo-pooed by the establishment. But that's because they have more kit to play with. If it's your hobby, no.
Yeah, and also, as you say, when doing these broad brushstrokes, I wonder if these two things go together.
Yes.
Then
I just want to see what happens, and you've got to do it yourself. It's no good reading that somebody else has said, this works exactly like that. You know, this accord, you put that and that together, it will do this, it will work perfectly, always do that. You sort of got to go and try it so that you know whether that is the case or not.
Yeah.
It's even for me like doing yoga poses. If somebody says, you almost must have your hands like this, you must do that, you must have... And you try it a few times, you try it differently, and I remember senior yoga teachers at teaching classes that I was at, who said, well, you would teach the beginners like this, and we'd all go, oh, I hadn't thought of moving the right toe like that before. And we'd all do all the beginners' things and see, test it out, see how it felt differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it's just learning is always the same. If you just take it as, right, this is done. Oh, that's my instruction. I will always do it like that. You don't try it. You can't really feel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, lecture. No. But that's what I think. You know, do it exactly the way you're told to do it, and then test it. Okay, I've got some lang langs. Okay, this is it on its own, which is nice. I think it's 2 of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, I like. Oops, I dropped it on 2 things. Which one do you think? What should we try? So.
Evelyn Brasley.
For me, that's yes. Okay. I'm surprised at the one that smells deepest for me because it feels like.
It's nice.
Okay. Try that one. Well, take this one and see which one you prefer.
I prefer it with Ice Super.
Mm-hmm.
To Heady Own.
Yeah. I wouldn't normally... Lang Lang and Heady Own seem a little bit too confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't not use Heady Own in a blend with Lang Lang. But I might need it with other things to make sure that they didn't just start squabbling.
Yeah, I like the ethylene bracelet the best though.
But
I think that's just because I just love ethylene bracelet.
It does lovely things.
I want them to make an ethylene bracelet that's like more.
Well, I think your favourite Belvione is kind of more ethylene bracelet.
Yeah, I think it
I
is.
mean, it's yeah, just it's.
Yeah.
That's its technical description. But yes, I think you're right. Yes, Lang Lang with Isoe Super even is it seems dimmed. Weirdly, it doesn't. It might have made it a little bit more tame. The ethylene bracelet seems to bring it out of its shell. So, and this, honestly, we could do this for days.
Yeah.
But we'd probably run out of data on your machine and battery.
My machine.
Yeah.
Great.
I was thinking, see, what we could do is put Neroli and Lang Lang and then Isoe Super, Ethylene Bracelet and Heady Own together to make a thing.
Go on then.
Alright. Let's find a space to write it down. I think this book's full. I found a space, it's fine. I'll put it on. It's very nearly full, but not quite. Because this was the 2020 book. Because we will write everything down. With a lovely new... That's the book. I can't help it, I'm sorry. All paid for by me. You know that it's gone nuts, hasn't it? Right, I'm going to use a Pyrex beaker, bought off eBay by me. They're very good because they're very washable. I'm going to press tear on quite a bad scale that was very cheap but is very accurate, but the buttons are already falling apart. And what I would suggest is, so the Lang Lang's at 10%, the Jasmine is at 5%. I am going to put in, I think, a random splash. No, I won't do that. Yeah, I might, because I'll work around it. I don't want to use another pipette. 0.37 grams of jasmine.
Good, that's enough.
Yeah, it is. It's well enough. It's probably jasmine S at 5%. 0.37 grams. We'll decide what to call it later. Riyadh. But Lang Lang is Far Eastern, really. Very interesting shaped blossoms. They tend to get put on people's pillows to help them
I'm
feel
going to
calm.
have a little Google.
Okay.
Of a Lang Lang.
Yes.
Or, as I call it, Yalang Yalang.
So good they named it twice.
Yeah.
That's, do you remember the video? There's a...
Reggae sauce.
No, I was actually thinking of, there's a perfume reviewer who takes the mickey out of perfume reviewers who said that it had Lang Lang in it, but they put twice as much in it because it's so good.
Wow, it's a very beautiful flower.
Kind of, yes, it looks magical. I put 0.5 grams of it.
Yeah, it's too out of focus. Can't show you.
So it's
Google
at
it for yourself.
10%. So I put about 3 times as much of Lang Lang in as jasmine. I'm going to have a quick. So we've made a jalang.
Got some brighten this up, I think. A bit dark.
Make it a bit dark. Yeah.
Oh, I won't put that.
Tear. I'm going to put in equal amounts. I'll put in 1 gram each. Oh, I say super. Let me make this. It is 9.8. Each drop's about 0.03 grams, but only about. I see super at 15. What should we call it, Arthur?
Let me think.
Okay, we'll call it that. Let me smell. Laissez-moi penser. It's just French, but let me think. Sounds better. Everything in French sounds better.
Yes, that is true. I think that's a good name. Everything in French sounds better.
Have I done that a bit Yodery? Should it be everything sounds better in French? Everything in French sounds better. There's a new material out apparently called Yodamol. I think it's named after Yoda. But I think it is a captive, so I can't have any. Which is a shame. It is getting dark.
It really is.
It's nice.
I'm sort of just treating it as a natural fade out. That's what's happening.
Until it goes so
It's a very
dark.
long natural fade out.
That's alright.
The original fade out in a way.
Yes.
Nighttime.
Oh, interesting point. Yeah, there's research that suggests that our sense of smell is better when
At
it's
night.
dark.
This is true. This is true.
Of course it is. Because, I mean, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
I'm reading a book on evolutionary biology at the moment, and we've covered just this exact point.
Yep.
Though it also says that modern, not to slate your profession,
Go
but you know, perfumery and deodorants and things have got in the way of human beings' ability to smell all the very subtle, nuanced chemical changes in each other's odour.
Yeah. But that's because we've decided we really don't want to.
Yeah. It's not to say that it's a bad thing.
No. For a very short time, I sort of almost went out with somebody who decided it was fun not to wear deodorant and not to wash for a few days to see if he could provoke reactions in people. Okay. And my reaction was to dump him.
Mm-hmm.
just the sort of limit.
Yeah. Do you know what the very first ever song was to have a fade out?
Love is all you need.
I don't
No,
know the
what is
answer.
it?
I don't
No,
know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I have heard it at some point a long time ago, but I can't remember. This is very nice.
It's not bad, is it? I find myself just wanting to smell it more.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know.
Extraordinarily simple, extraordinarily lovely. Possibly I'd have to look at the regulations. It might only be allowed at eau de toilette strength with that amount of lang lang in it, but it's not too bad. No, actually it probably is. I say. And because it's got those other things, you see how the ethylene brassylate and the hedione and the isoe super just add.
Mm-hmm.
They get together like a very good backing group.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't say to somebody, right, okay, do you want this, you're the singer, do you just want the drums, or do you just want the guitar, or do you just want the bass? Because they sound completely different with just those three. They've gone, how about we put them three together, put the three together as a backing group, and they all work with each other and make the singers project and sound better.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. We've made a backing group. It's like our friend John Miles and Tina Turner.
Very nice.
I think they'll do.
Quite smells better
Simplicity.
in French.
It smells better in French. I'll write that down before I forget. It smells better in French.
That's quite good, that. I like that as a name.
Yeah. And then I think what we ought to do is, also do the same. Try it with tuberose and with the narrowly and with other things which are quite punchy, and see how you can calm them down and help them behave a little bit more predictably,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
pleasantly. That. Okay, that'll do. We've made a perfume.